Mr. Henry Quek.
Question 11, sir.
The Singapore Prison Service works with a number of community partners and voluntary welfare organizations to run programs for inmates that incorporate life skills, such as communication, stress management, conflict resolution, and financial management. These programs include family programs, drug abuse intervention programs, and religious counseling. One example is a structured family program run by Fayette Community Services and Lakeside Family Services. The programs aim to increase inmates' knowledge, skills, and confidence in maintaining ties and building stronger relationships with their family members. Another example is the drug abuse intervention program run by Touch Community Services, which motivate inmates with drug antecedents to change. Inmates also learn behavioral skills to help in relapse prevention. More than 35,000 training places were offered to inmates in the last 5 years.
Mr. Lewison.
We will study the issue. There are a number of considerations that we will need to balance. First, intellectual disability occurs along a wide spectrum of severity. Persons with severe intellectual disability, to the extent that they are incapable of understanding the nature and consequences of the act that they had committed, are acquitted. However, in other cases, intellectual disability may not negate the culpability of the offender. Second, we will need to take into account other sentencing considerations. Offences which attract mandatory imprisonment and caning are generally serious and involve violence, such as robbery and aggravated rape. Such offences cause great distress to victims and threaten public safety. As such, punishment, deterrence, and public protection are key considerations in sentencing for such offences. As for Mr. Ng's second question, mandatory treatment orders, or MTOs, are imposed when an offender is suffering from a mental illness which is treatable and which contributed to his offence. However, psychiatric assessments of offenders have found that those with nearly intellectual disability are unsuitable for MTOs as their conditions were not assessed to be treatable.
Mr. Lewison.
I thank SPS for the reply. Can I just check the timeline for the review? And two, I understand that currently programs under the RT regimes have already been modified for the intellectually disabled inmates. But I think the limiting factor is the prison officers' time as well as resource constraints. So while we are undergoing this review, will SPS consider providing more resources to the RT officers so that they can modify these programs for the inmates who are currently in there with intellectual disability?
We will conclude the review in good time. As for the generally, the prison service takes extra precautions to manage inmates who are diagnosed with intellectual disability. Those with mental illnesses and who require treatment are currently housed separately at the psychiatric housing unit. And those who are able to assimilate with the mainstream population and are housed with them, they generally undergo the same rehabilitation programs like other inmates. However, prison staff will monitor them closely to pick up any incidents of bullying or difficulties in adjustment.
Mr. Lewison.
I thank SPS for the reply, but the concern really is that they're saying they don't have enough time and resources. So I'm just wondering whether on MHA side we can pump in more resources so that the RT officers can have time to modify the programs for the intellectually disabled.
I think the time and resources issue that will be considered as part of the general review, and we'll be certainly keen to ensure that our inmates get the proper support to help with their rehabilitation process.